What is up, you guys? In today's episode, I'm going to talk to you specifically about the path from growing your handmade furniture business from your garage to $1 million a year. Let's dive in. All right, well, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm so grateful for your time and for your attention. So today, I want to give you the path that I took from growing my woodworking business in my garage, starting out, walking out my garage for the very first day, didn't have any idea what I was doing, to $1 million. Now, disclaimer, my woodworking business hasn't done $1 million in a year yet, but we're real close. Last year, we did $900,000, and I'm sure this year we will break $1 million in sales. So I want to give you the path, though, that I took, the thought process that I went through in order to scale that business. Many of you guys are great woodworkers and you're trying to learn the business principles that you need in order to grow your woodworking business. The skill of woodworking you got on lock, the business owner skill, not so much. So I want to really give you some guiding principles today, and really it's a rinse and repeat type process to scale every step of the way. Okay, so the very first thing when you're starting out your woodworking business that you've got to have is sales. You can have the best tools in the world, you can be the best woodworker in the world, but if you don't know how to sell, if you don't have any sales, you won't be able to grow your business. What does it take to grow a business? It takes money, it takes cash, it takes clients, right? So you've got to be able to sell. And so that should be your number one priority. Selling should be your number one priority. That's not to say that everything else isn't important, but the number one thing when you're starting out is you've got to drive sales for your business. You've got to have revenue. You've got to have income. You've got to have cash flowing into the business. Now, that is the number one thing that we help with inside of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program, is that we help drive sales and revenue to your business. But then from there, once you start growing, we are a coaching and consulting company that helps you scale your operations. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, want to check that out, that's the third link in the description below, the Woodworking Business Accelerator program, okay? But number one is you got to have sales. You got to focus on sales. It's got to be at the front of your mind. Every day when you wake up, you got to figure out, how can I sell today? How can I sell more today? Ultimately, what you want to do is you want to focus on that until you have lead times. Now, this is specifically for handmade furniture businesses. Now, if you're a woodworker and you're doing other things, I can't necessarily speak to your lead times, but I can speak to the handmade furniture business owners, okay? But you need to drive your lead times to about the max that you can have before it starts affecting your sales. For us, we found that that is around a 10 to 12 week lead time, which again, if you don't know what a lead time is basically from the time that somebody places an order until you complete their order. How long is that? That's your lead time, okay? Now, if you don't have any sales and somebody places an order with you, well, you can start working on their order immediately, right? You have shorter lead times. But if you have a backlog of work, then it's going to extend your lead times. Just for those of you that didn't know what I'm talking about. But you need to sell until you have a backlog of around 10 to 12 weeks. You have a 12-week lead time, okay? At around 12 weeks, when you start continuing to try to sell and you start telling people that there's a 12-week lead time, that's going to be a little off-putting. They're like, man, I don't really want to wait 3 months to get my stuff, right? Well, this is when you scale your operations, okay? So we want to grow sales with our current capacity, which is just you at this point. You don't have any employees, you don't have any help, but let's say you're a one-man show. You want to scale that to where you have 10 to 12 week lead times by selling, and then it's going to start affecting your sales. Then you want to scale operations, which means you want to figure out how to get better machinery that allow you to move faster, or most likely hire a part-time or a full-time employee. So what happens, imagine for a second that you're working full-time in the shop. You're working 40 hours a week, you're doing all your sales and administrative stuff. Extra, you're working like a dog, right? Let's say that you're growing your business, you got 12-week lead times, and it's really starting to affect your sales. As soon as you bring on another full-time employee in the shop, it's going to cut your lead times in half, if not more, because you're going to have you full-time in the shop and them full-time in the shop. So what's going to happen is you're going to grow your lead times with sales, you're going to bring on an employee, and then your lead times are going to get cut in half back to, let's say, 6 weeks. When that happens, your job, again, is to scale and grow your lead times again. Stretch those out, right? Now, remember, your shop is twice as fast now as it was before if you do it right? If your operations are working correctly. So if you cut your lead times down to 6 weeks, now your job is to hammer again on sales. You want to grow your sales back up to where you have 12-week lead times again, and then you want to make another hire or another operational change to cut your lead times down. And guys, let me just tell you, this is the path. This is how you do it, and you do it again and again and again and again. And imagine for a moment moment that you built out all the positions inside of your business. If you could imagine your business being a $10 million per year business, right? So you'd have the CEO, you'd have the chief marketing officer, you'd have the CFO, chief financial officer, you would have all the guys in the shop with all their different responsibilities. You'd probably have multiple salespeople. You'd probably have inbound sales, which is where you're handling leads that your marketing is bringing to you. You'd have outbound sales, people that are calling, sending mailers, going out shaking hands. And these are all, like, if you had this big business, this is what all these positions would be, right? So start there. Imagine you have this org chart, CEO, CFO, CMO, and then you have all these little positions under that. And you have a COO, Chief Operating Officer. Well, right now you're all of those things. You still have a business that requires all those roles, but you're doing it all. So as you start to scale, I believe that you should start hiring from the bottom and moving up. In every little position, your name is in that position right now. Well, then you should start to grow your lead times to 10 to 12 weeks, and then you want to hire and you want to cut those lead times back down. And you want to replace, in my opinion, now there's some people that scale from the top, but with businesses where you don't have a lot of cash, you don't have a lot of capital, you can't go afford to hire somebody for $100,000 a year, you probably need to go find the kid out in high school that's looking for a part-time job, or the manual labor guys to get you out of the shop so you can focus more on the business administrative side of your business. But that is the path to scale. Sales should always lead growth. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Sales should always lead growth. You shouldn't be trying to scale operationally if you don't already have a clear-cut path for sales growth. That should be the number one focus, is sell, 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 sell. And then you ask yourself, am I doing everything I can to maximize this? Is there anybody that I should be reaching out to? Should I be posting more on social media? Should I be posting more on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist? Should I be going to the local flea market? You should constantly be thinking, how can I increase sales? That should be the number one focus of your business. That's the path. That is the path. And essentially what happens is that you have systems now for being a one-man team, okay? And then when you get two people in there, your systems are going to break. So you got to develop systems from an operational standpoint that allow you and one full-time employee to work well in the shop together, okay? And then you scale again, you bring in another employee and you remove yourself from the shop, let's say, and you're focusing on sales and administrative full-time. You got two guys in the shop that are working. You keep the same system that you had for you and the one employee. You take that one employee, you make him the shop manager, and then you have a helper to him, right? And you continue to scale, and then along the way, you're like, hey, I'm running out of space. I need to move into a shop. I need to move into a commercial space. Well, you're working out of your garage. It didn't cost you anything to work out of your garage. Now you got a $2,000 a month lease payment in the shop. Okay, so dang, that's going to really hurt your bottom line. So how much more do I need to increase sales to be able to cover that without it affecting me personally and financially? So this is the path to scale, and this is exactly what we do inside of the Woodworking Business Accelerator program. So if that's something that you're interested in, be sure to check that out below. But I wanted to give you guys basically the roadmap that I followed. This is what I did to go from my garage in 2017, not knowing anything, eventually failing, having to go back and get another job. I just kept my woodworking business alive as a side hustle until I figured out how to market and how to sell. Marketing and sales is essential. And just along with this, there's so many other nuances that you need to know. And those are things that we go over with you inside of the Woodworking Accelerator program. You got to focus on your brand. You got to focus on standardizing your products. You got to focus on creating systems. Those are all things that you can do. And if you're like me, I didn't have a guide. I didn't have anybody to help me. Well, it took me 5 years to really figure it out. And so, but with the Woodworking Accelerator program, we're going to help you get there within 6 months. That's what we do. If you have any questions about this, be sure to let me know in the comments below. I always try to respond to the comments best I can. If you are getting value out of this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I've said it before, I'm a little biased, but I really do believe this is the single greatest YouTube channel that you're going to find around woodworking business principles, okay? You can find how to build stuff anywhere. There's people all over the place talking about that, but I'm actually giving you the back-end business systems, structures, ideas that you need to have in order to actually grow and scale your business into something legit. So with that being said, guys, I love you, appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.